Okay, there we go. Um, Tara's going to stick with Wednesday, so I hope to see a lot of you there. Awesome. Yeah. I do like for you guys to, I know that some people want to jump over there. I do like for you guys to sort of stay together. I was talking about that last night too, is because I kind of like for you guys to bond and grow together. Um, so I do kind of like that. But they're all good folks, no matter where you land. You're going to make good friends, and we talked about this briefly last night too, is that you know I think besides what we're doing here, that everybody is here for the same reason, and people who aren't tend to weed themselves out pretty quickly. But those folks who are here, um, we're all here for the same reason. It's we want to help society, we want to do something good, and we want to make a difference, and all of those common things that we all have. Um, and in the spiritual connection and the friendships that form, like that's the part that's important about the classes as well, is that community support. Because this is hard. When I forged a path myself, I did it, for the first part by myself, and I felt like a freak. I didn't know there were other people out there doing this work, and I just felt like, a weirdo. I didn't really have people I could talk to or anything about it. You just don't go to your local PTA and start talking about this stuff. So, you know, um, it was sort of lonely. It was sort of lonely because I had all these questions and all these things, and it wasn't until I found my group, like I said, found my peeps, that it made me feel normal, and it made me feel accepted, and I could grow and be safe in that. And so I've always wanted to create that for you guys, is to have a place where you can find those people who get you. And I always say, let your freak flag fly here. And there's no, and there's no ridiculous questions. You can't ask these things. You can't have these conversations everywhere, but you can have them here. And um, and it's a safe space for everyone. And I'm pretty vigilant in that, I don't allow any kind of dynamics that I think are not helpful or supportive for everybody. And so I kind of nip those in the bud pretty quick and I rarely even attract that into my classes. So when I do, they go away very quickly. Because it's just so important to me to have a safe, supportive space for everyone. And I know everybody has different personalities and different things, but I still expect and create a space where everyone's going to feel honored, everyone's going to feel safe, everyone's going to feel supported. And um, and I try to make sure that that is um, preserved no matter what. So I'm super super vigilant about that. Um, okay. Um, Wednesday's gonna get hammered with a bunch of new warriors. um, they'll love it. They'll love it. Um, yeah, they're awesome group. And any of you who've been, a lot of them have been in the remote viewing class, so you'll probably see some familiar faces actually in there too. So, um, but like I said, I'm super happy with all the groups and me. It's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting dynamic because I would. I think about this a lot because I get really attached to you guys. I get really attached to my students, but I think it's because it's not like I'm teaching math, you know what I mean? Like, like it's because we are exposing our spirit. We're exposing our highest selves to each other through our psychic work. And I think that's why the bonds are a little bit different than they would be in any kind of a normal class, because we're actually soul to soul. We're actually, not to get too waxy, but we are we are working soul to soul. We are sort of working at that higher level, and seeing that in each other and seeing each other's work. And so I think for me, that's why I get overly attached to you guys, because it's like, I think it's more of a soul connection than just a regular, if I was teaching you math or whatever. Yes, and everyone's being vulnerable. Everyone's being vulnerable, and I'm being vulnerable. So it's true. But there's somebody asked me one time, or a lot of times I've been asked this question, and they said, when do you start feeling less vulnerable and start feeling more confident? And I'm like, never. Um, every time I put my work out there, I feel that little clinch of, oh God, oh God, oh God. Um, every time I put my work out there, no matter what, I I still am like, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm this? I still feel that way every time I talk to a new detective, or I put a session out there, or I still feel that way. And I've been doing this for a really long time, so I still get that little clinch of, oh gosh, oh gosh. Um, and so I understand it, I understand it because I still deal with it. And so when people say, when's that feeling go away? I'm like, well, I don't know. We're 20 years and counting, 20 years and counting, and it hasn't gone away for me yet. So uh, I don't know. I think that if you get too cocky, that's never a good thing either. I think being humble, remaining humble is probably the best bet anyway. So yeah, stay humble. There's a vulnerability with doing this work, and you can't get around it. I don't think you can escape it. It's just part of exposing your intuitive work. So that's just kind of part of the deal. um,
Can I ask a question?
yep.
Um, since the Thursday class has got people that are working on live cases, that's appealing to me in some way. I've had a number of classes, but I don't have a work in the field. So is there an up and a downside to that is my question.
There is an up and a downside to that. It's a good question. um, the upside to it is that you get more practice with the reality of working live cases. So the reality of working live cases is you don't always get feedback, because there is no feedback. So a lot of times you don't get feedback because there is no feedback. But that's the reality of doing this work is, I just got feedback on a case that I worked on, sensing murder. So I didn't get feedback for 10 whatever years, 10 years. Um, so sometimes feedback comes quickly if the case gets solved. Sometimes it doesn't come for years and years. Sometimes it never comes. So that's just the reality of crime work. Actually, all detectives have to deal with it too, not just us. Detectives deal with it as well,
Mhm.
where sometimes cases break and sometimes they don't. Sometimes it takes a really long time for them to get a break. But the upside of that, so the downside is you may not get feedback. The upside of that is you can learn to work without feedback, one, um, and
Can you
not
repeat
become
that last
feedback.
part? It was cutting out. What was the very last thing that you said?
I know my internet's a little unstable too. You you learn to work without feedback, which is because, so feedback is an interesting thing, right? So feedback's important for your own development and growth, so that you can make adjustments and figure out what you're doing right and what you're not. And so feedback is important, but you also have to learn to not become feedback dependent, so that you can only work based on feedback, and learning to trust your own self and know when you're on and know when you're off and that kind of stuff. That's important part of the process too, because there's times where, you know, I don't know, I don't get that feedback. And so I have to be able to move forward without the feedback. So, that's one of the things that you have to learn, is not to become feedback dependent, what we call feedback dependent.
So Pam, do you think that for like myself, this is pretty new to me, that doing that feedback just so I get the feeling of what's really right and what's wrong, I would need that feedback right
Yes.
now.
Yes. And so I don't want you guys to think that the Thursday class is all about that, because we still do Dead or Alive. We still do
Okay.
those things where there's absolute feedback, where I give a location because the location's known. So they still get feedback cases, practice cases, but they tend to just get more real life cases. And the real life cases is the other part about that, is learning the highs and lows and riding the emotional roller coaster of actually dealing with a real case. So
Right.
that's another one of the issues that comes along with it, is sort of riding that emotional roller coaster that comes with everyone. So
Is
Okay.
is either one of them better for getting to the point that you're actually doing field work?
probably the Thursday class, yeah, probably.
Okay.
But both classes get there. Both classes will get there, because definitely there are people in the Wednesday class that are very close approaching that level too. And we've been talking about this. I actually was going to do it until my month got sidelined. I'll just tell you guys this: until my month totally got sidelined, I've been talking to the advanced classes about an idea I've had, and I was going to implement it this month. Looks like it's going to have to be next month or so. But one of the things that I wanted to do with them is handpick some students, or what we had talked about doing was having a detective come to the class and present their case, or maybe they could give me the picture ahead of time and let everybody do their sessions ahead of time, and then have the detective come, and then he could sort of pick out the ones who he knew were on based on the knowledge of the case, and ask them more questions about this particular thing they were getting. Like, say somebody was describing a vehicle, and he knew that they were onto something, then he could be asking them more questions about the vehicle. And if somebody else over here was like getting a good description of a perp, then he could ask that person questions about the perp. And so I was thinking about sort of introducing it that way, to get people to actually work a little bit with a detective. And so that's kind of one of the things I was planning. It was supposed to happen this week. That was one of the things that was going to happen in July, was the bring a detective to work day, bring a detective on, to to see how it would go with that. And then anybody that wasn't working directly with them would still be watching and listening and hearing this process. So the tricky part for me in that is that detectives are cagey sometimes, and so they don't want to give a lot of feedback, or they don't want to give out stuff, especially to a whole class.
So I have a question about that, actually, if you don't mind, because so for me, it was almost like a push from the universe, because I didn't want to do that really. And so the case I'm currently working on is I met with a detective, and then he brought in search and rescue. And the challenge I had is I could feel him disconnect from trusting what I was saying and
Yeah.
completely shut down. And then that completely threw me off. And then
Yes.
I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of talking? Because they had already done a grid search. They didn't want to go back to it. I didn't have enough evidence. So I'm like, I didn't know what to do.
You know, I could tell this is going to be one of those classes that we don't get to the homework and we talk about all this stuff, but it's good stuff to talk about. It's important. So that phenomenon you just described, I've experienced it. I don't know how many times where, and it could be a personal reading, it doesn't even have to be a detective, where you see this person shut down and they don't believe anything you're saying, and then you start getting into this place of insecurity and feeling judged or feeling disrespected or whatever it is, and then you shut down, and then it is just a disaster when it happens to me in a reading. And it rarely, I mean, probably once every couple of years it'll happen, and I'll just tell them, you know what, let's just stop right now because this isn't going to work. I'm going to just refund you and just buy. Let's just call it a day. But when it's a detective, you can't do that. um, and you know i've had to deal with every kind of detective. So I've had to deal with those total skeptics, and I've had to deal with those who are super open-minded, sometimes too open-minded, that um, they believe everything and they're a little bit too woo-woo themselves. But you, you know, with practice, when I was talking about before about how you know when it's time to work with detectives, when you start feeling like you're consistent, like when you feel yourself consistent of, I may not get everything right, but I know that I'm going consistently getting things right. For me, like, I know what my strengths and my weaknesses are. I have no illusions about what those are. Like, so I know for me, understanding my strength is, probably my biggest strength is understanding the scenario. I'm really good at replaying the scenario. So that's my strength. Describing people, not so much, but I know that I'm good at describing the scenario and understanding what happened. So that's my strength. I know that I'm really good at that. And I know that I'm going to be mostly accurate. There can be things that I'm going to be wrong about. I'm always like, please let it be a small thing and not a huge thing. When I say, 90% accurate, I'm like, please God, let the 10% be a small thing and not a huge thing, like dead or alive. But or my thing will be like, they're not in the water. I know one thing, they're not in the water. Oh, they'll be in the water. So, but I've had to separate my own process and my own knowing from the reaction. Right? So, their reaction is just their reaction, and I'm not talking about clients, I'm talking about a detective. So their reaction is just their reaction, and I have to allow that to be whatever it is and not attach to it, which is very hard. You have to grow thick skin. You have to grow some thick skin to be able to deal with that. But I had to get to this part where, if you think about it, and I've been doing this for a long time, I'm like, and I say it all the time, I'm only as smart and talented as I agree with the detective, right? So if I agree with them, then they think I'm brilliant. and they're all ears and they want to go down that path. And oh my gosh, she's so good. And then, but if I present them with something that's opposite of what they're thinking, I'm a crackpot and I don't know what I'm doing. And so I've had to separate myself from their reaction. I've had to separate myself from their reaction because they may not be right. They may not be right. They may be going down the wrong path. They may be wrong. And so what I do, and this might help you, Sophie, one of the things that I do right off the bat, I have a special way of dealing with detectives. Right off the bat, I'm like, look, before we even start, I'm going to tell you this. I may agree with you and I may not. So I'll just ask them, are you ready to hear something that may not, fly with what you're thinking? And I'll just tell them right off the front. I say, I might agree with you, but then I might not. So how are you going to react to that? And I'll just be really upfront and go, how are you going to react to that? Because I may come up with something that's totally different than what you're thinking. And are you ready for that? So that sort of puts the elephant out there already by just putting it out there and addressing it right up front. Does that make sense? So sometimes that will actually help a little bit of, I'm going to say something and you may agree, you may not agree. That's fine, but this is what I get. And when I have one that's sitting there shaking their head at me or whatever, I'll say, I can't change my answer. I'm not going to change my answer. I can't change my answer. It's what I got. It's what I see. I can't change it because it doesn't suit you. If you have facts, if you have hard facts that back up a different theory, tell me that and I can shift my direction. But short of that, I'm not changing my answer. And so I'm really good at that, of going, you know what, I can't change my answer. I'm sorry if you don't like it, but it's what I see. It's what I see.
So thank you, because that was one of the things that happened, is that then he explained his ego got hurt because I told him he knew exactly what I was talking about, which was great. But he's like, we grid search, and then he explained how in details what that meant and how thorough they were. And I'm like, I'm so sorry if I'm hurting your feelings or whatever. And the fact is, the body's there. So I'm not going to change my mind about it. And you said, well, based on what you're sharing, there's not enough evidence to suggest or warrant another deep search the way we just did. I'm like, okay, fine, then I'll go get him myself.
Well, you have to, and the other thing too is you got to be humble. So you have to always say, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. So I always say, yep, I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. And I'm not joking about that. I'm always like, yeah, I could screw this up. So I do tell them, I could be wrong. But, I don't know how many times too that a body has shown up where they told me they searched. Like that's happened a lot, where they told me for sure they searched it. And then of course the body shows up there.
And they were really kind, because he said we could have missed him, and he's in the forest, so he's on a trail, so it's so difficult to find. And what you said at the beginning was so true. Until you actually go in the field, and I'm like, I'm not in shape, so I've been training since that talk you gave us.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, there's until you went in. And then I was like, okay, fine, I'll go get him. And I'm like, wow, there's no way, I'm not in shape enough. I don't understand things enough. So I had to get out. So then I'm going to go back once I understand the terrain better and I'm in better shape, because they can't go back. And he said we might have missed him, but right now there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see how different it is from what I see and when I went in.
It's absolutely, it on paper, in your head and on paper, it seems very easy. And then you get out there and you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. This is, and the other thing that I do with detectives is tell them, I'm very good at putting them at ease and sort of helping through their defenses because they have defenses. So one of the things I do say to them, I'll get you a sec, Sally. One of the things that I do say to them is, I know how hard it is out there because I do know. I'm like, I know how hard it is out there. I know how difficult it is. I also know that it is possible to miss somebody, to miss somebody. So I do sort of, and I've had one time I was on a conference call with the whole department. I didn't know they were all huddled around the thing, but apparently they were all huddled around the the speakerphone. But all of a sudden I hear all these voices coming. I'm like, how many people are in there? I thought there was like 3 of you. Um, and then they're like, oh, this is so and so. Oh, this is I'm like, okay. You guys, I didn't know you're all you're all listening in. But I was just telling them, I was like, I know I do searches. I know how hard it is out there. I know what the challenge is like. I know how difficult it is. And they were just like, oh my gosh, it is so hard. And then they just totally opened up and they were just like, thank you. They were like, we know it is so hard. And then we all sort of, had a moment of that. Um, and then that helps them let their guard down a little bit and everybody be human in the moment, everybody being human of, yeah, this is hard. This is hard. And being on the same page with that. So it does take some finesse. It does take some finesse to work with them in that way. But, I'm always trying to make them feel uh, less threatened, I guess is the thing. I'm always trying to find ways to make them feel less threatened. But that being said, like I said, if I really feel strongly about something I'm getting, I do just say, I can't change my answer. It's just what I see. I could be wrong, of course,
So
but that's what I see.
on the same topic, my background's in the business world, so and this might absolutely not work, and so that's the reason I want you to tell me if it wouldn't. Is it a bad idea to try to align expectations before you even start
Yeah,
and say there may be an
absolutely.
answer? How are you going to be with that? And oh, by the way, if we have phone conversations, I need to know who's on the phone. Those whatever the issues are. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
is it a good idea to align expectations up front? I'm wondering. You think so? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that little department too, that was like a really, really rural little tiny apartment, tiny department. I was like, this was probably the most excitement they'd had in like a long time. They all got to
Well,
talk to the psychic, but
it's common professional courtesy, though,
yes,
to
true.
who's on the other end of the phone.
However, yes, it is. However, they're detectives, and that's kind of the way they are.
Okay.
This is kind of the way they are.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, they tend
Thank you.
to do that. All
Hi,
right,
Pam, this is Sally.
go ahead.
I don't know if this, being a newbie to this and looking to, go on. I don't know if this is something parallel. I was asked to come to one of the lab, they do the blood work at my doctor's office. And she had heard of me and in my work.
Mhm.
And so she asked me to come to her house because her brother was not right in the head. He was, a bit delusional. And yet there's something in the house. They felt something. So I said, sure. And it was one of the first times that I charged, because usually, I don't go down that route, because she says, no, let me give you something. So I did that. So she had her whole family. There were like 12 people at the house when I got there. So when I do the reading with the intuitive and the mediumship, I mean, everything comes in under like a holographic hat.
Mhm.
And I wasn't afraid to meet the brother because I've had mentally ill people in my life. So you tend to know, or you learn something in your intuitive work. And so I went through so I met everybody, and it was like they were waiting for this amazing, I don't know. I was kind of like, I got a little shook, but I was like, no, I came in here with spirit. I came in here with my guides. And I came in and, I did a clearing, but I saw, some deceased people. He was a sensitive, so he was very attracted to this. I knew that the frequency in the area in Maryland that he was in was so highly with these, the wiring, what they
Mhm,
call that, cell towers and things like that. And, just what was bombarding him in that. So, and I actually found the knife in a drawer where they were like, what's that? And I was, so when I touched it with psychometry, I felt that they were endangered from him to use that, so I picked that up. So then I said, we have to get rid of this, this, and this. So a deceased, elder great grandmother, whatnot. There was like a chair. So all these things that came up. So I came into the kitchen, kind of gave them a wrap. So I spoke with the fellow too, because he was afraid of certain things out in the yard, but the bird bath, and I spoke with him intuitively. What would that be? He seemed to calm because he wasn't going to talk to anybody. Okay. And his room, I said, that room had to get cleared, clean, paint. I mean, it was I said, would you be willing? So it was like having this major event in a way. And so when I came into the kitchen, the grandmother was there, and I mentioned, I said, well, we need to get, just quietly get the knife. And she's like screamed. She says, I had this dream about this knife, and I dreamt that I was stabbed to death in my own house. And I was like, wow, so you don't know. So you calm people down, you're in the moment, cleared it out. They paid me, it wasn't an enormous amount because, I try to reach with people. And then so it was like, I don't know if I had an expectation, like you're saying, like, did it work? Did you feel better? So I kind of had to let that go. And then when I saw her, she gave me like this scowl, and I was like, oh my God. I said, well, that's not good. So for about 5 months, she finally stopped me in the hallway, and she was like, well, I just want to tell you, I want to say thank you because that was really amazing, because my brother is, he's seeing a therapist. He's much more, we did all the things you suggested that we do. And, we just feel so much better. And I was like, I was ready to give you your money back. I was like, I thought I was like this pariah that showed up. And I really went with that confidence because, but then you can't imagine what's on someone else's mind when you see them,
Yeah.
so here I thought I failed at everything. And, so I think it doesn't have to be that there's a parallel of what I'm saying, but it seems like there is. When you have to let that go, then you've done your best, and
Yeah.
nobody's tripping you out the door to say come back here because we don't like, or whatever it is. Only to find out that the brother, she said she says, well, I just want to say thank you. I know I've seen you a couple of times, but he's become more normalized. She said, I don't know if he'll ever get to a place of. She said, but we're not afraid of him anymore. And I want to say, well, I was kind of afraid after a while being in that house myself, but, so
Right.
is that, that to me is something similar where we're going in blind with something, or, sensing. And when you say that maybe shut off this part of mediumship or turn off this part of this, I'm understanding that more. I guess that event is different where, you're getting a lot of everything. So it helps to separate the AOL, the AI, just this stuff. So I think that's a wealth with the classes.
Yeah, and I'm going to teach mediumship
I saw that.
this
Yeah.
time. And one of the things that I do that's a little different in the mediumship class is, from other people, obviously, is help people sort out the difference between psychic and mediumship and all of that. So, um, so, um, it's really weird. I've got the do not disturb sign on, and yet it's not working. um, so, we will be talking about, how to sort out the difference between the mediumship and the psychic, and how that applies to cases and stuff like that a little bit. But I'm going to talk about this for a second, then we're going to try to do a quick look at our cases. But Sam had made a comment here too. But what you what you were saying about, you said one thing that kind of triggered something for me is when you separate yourself out from their reaction and you feel solid in yourself, you don't want to get cocky because you could be wrong. And then, that's embarrassing. But a lot of times you could think you're wrong because of the feedback you're getting. So they could tell you you're wrong or make you feel like you are absolutely going down the wrong path. And then later it comes back and you learn that, that you were right and that, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it doesn't always happen right away. Sometimes it takes a long time for that to come circle back around. And I've gotten more comfortable with that, where I'm like, okay, um, they're really, really, really focused on this particular thing. I'm just going to let them chase that down. And I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but if it does, great. And if not, they'll come back and then they'll go, what were you saying about such and such? And so a lot of times they'll do that. They'll be like, hey, so that didn't pan out. And we want to know what you were talking about earlier. And I'm like, okay. um, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I understand it's human nature and that they've got an idea and they're excited about it and that's the direction they're going. And it's hard to change course when somebody you don't know is coming in and going, no, it's this, and they don't know you and they don't know, it's hard for people to change course sometimes. But Sam, you made a point and I wanted to address that too, is that sometimes they'll intentionally give you bad feedback or they'll intentionally trick you to see if you'll change your answer or see how you'll react to that. And that has happened to me, for sure. That has happened to me. And I'm like, yeah, nope, still not going to change my answer. Like, I can't change what I see, I can't change what I see. So, but I have had them try to confuse me or throw me by intentionally giving me bad feedback. So I have had that happen. And I just stick to my guns. I do stick to my guns. But, um, but there are other times, where maybe I'm not feeling as confident in something and I will just say, you know what? I don't know. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% on this. So I think, like I talked about my FBI friend, and that he's truly my favorite, one of my favorite to work with, even though he's kind of frustrating because he gets set off in his own his own thing, and he'll ignore what he'll ignore stuff that I'm saying. But he's the one who will say to me, what's your confidence? What's your confidence in it? On a scale of 1 to 10, how strongly do you feel about this? And so that gives me the ability to be wrong. It gives me the ability to say, you know what, I'm about 5. I'm about 5. And so he'll go, good to know. Okay. And then that takes me off of the hook, and it gives him a benchmark for how seriously to take, whatever it is that I'm saying. So I really, really love that. I wish more of them would do that because I really love when he does that, when he's just like, okay, what do you, he even did it with this whole stalker thing. He's like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how threatened do you feel right now? And I'm like, 8. He's like, okay, good to know. So, but we've been playing that game forever, on this suspect, you're describing a suspect to me. How strong is it on a scale of 1 to 10? How confident are you? And I really love that because it just allows me to be real and just go, you know what? It's about 3. It's about 3. But if I say, 8 or 9 or something, then he'll be like, okay, we're going to really, really take this seriously. So, but not all detectives are the same and they all have their personality quirks. And everything else. And some of them like are very cagey. And so I thought about that when I thought about trying to bring somebody on here with the case. And I'm like, yeah, some of them are going to be open and some are going to be cagey with sharing any information with a whole group of people. So I'm still trying to work that out. But that is something I am planning to do in the near future to help you guys bridge um, that and start working, working some real cases and working with the actual detectives and all of that. But you have to have a sense of humor and you have to use some finesse. So it's a constant, it's a constant juggling act there. Okay. So let me see. I'm going to lose the chat. Okay. All right. Okay. I totally forgot what I gave you here. All right. That's the one that doesn't have feedback. This is the one that we don't have feedback that I just gave you to work on him. I will be getting feedback. I'll be sure to put it up here. Even after the class is over, this blog is going to stay up. So I will be sure. And you guys, if you move on to the other classes, he's in there too. So you'll get that feedback. But they're kind of waiting on me to do a session before giving any feedback about what they actually do know in the case. So that will be coming after my session on him.
Pam, can you give us your opinion on what's going on with him, or what do you feel?
I really haven't done a session on him at all yet, so I haven't even formed an opinion. I might do a live session again for him, so I might do that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do you look at our information before you do your live session, or is that, or whenever you do a session, whether it's with us or otherwise, or is
I hide from your stuff until I do my session.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So yeah, it's funny about what we call front loading. Front loading is anything you know about a case before you work on a case. And my theory is the more that I know, the more difficult it is. So the less I know, the happier I am, generally. I used to be the opposite because I was feeling insecure. So I always thought I wanted to know some bits of it just so that I would know if I was going in the right direction or if I was off in Crazyville. But I have found the less I know, the better off I'm going to be. And my brain's not going to jump in there and make up stuff. So the less I know, the better. A few facts that are absolute facts won't kill it for me. Meaning, and I'm not saying this is true of him, I have no idea. But if they were to say to me, last time he was seen, he was walking down a street. That's all we know. That's not going to destroy it for me because that's factual. And I can still work off of that. But if they say, that he was having trouble with a drug dealer, I'm done. I'm like, okay, all right, now I'm never gonna be able, I'm just not gonna be able to do this. So there's certain kind of front loading that's okay, and then there's certain kind that's really, really damaging. And so any kind of speculation is, I always tell them, any kind of speculation is a no-go. That is going to make it just near impossible for me. And your sessions, seeing what other people have said psychically is one of those things that just throws me for a loop. I've gotten a little bit better about it, but man, it's still, I'll be like, oh my gosh, everybody else said this, and it will just really get into my head. So I don't even let it get into my head until I've done my session. I don't even look at what you guys have said. And it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's that I'm purposely shielding myself from being front loaded, because I really, really try to preserve that space. So, and I know I've talked about this in the beginning class, probably in other classes, but just to reinforce it, being that first session that I have where I'm not front loaded, where I know very little about the case, that's precious to me. That's like, you can't get that back, right? So once you've done a session and you start learning anything about the case, you can't get that you can't get that blank page back ever. So when I'm working on that blank page, I take as much advantage of it as I possibly can, because I realize from here on out, I'm going to be tainted a little bit. So I'm going to pull out everything I can possibly get in that first session, because I feel like here's my chance to work without any kind of being tainted. So I'm really going to take advantage of it, and I am going to pull out everything I possibly can so that I don't have to fight through that front loading stuff going forward. So I take full advantage of that first. I really, really appreciate my first session where I'm totally cold and know nothing. I used to not like it, but now I'm like, I've come to really appreciate it, because I know that once I start getting any feedback or I start getting ideas of my own and doing any kind of research, I'm tainted, and I'll never have that blank space to work on again. So, so I do take great care to sort of preserve that for myself. So when there's a big, people used to think I lived under a rock or something, because when there would be like a big case that was all over the news, I would turn the TV off, because I'm like, oh my God, what if they call me? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So I would turn it off, and I wouldn't follow any of these cases, because I'm like, oh my God, they're going to call me, and then I'm going to be all front loaded and I won't be able to help. So they would call me, and then I'd say, I really actually don't know. They had a hard time believing that I didn't know anything about it. And I'm like, no, I really don't. I promise you, I just didn't want to see it, didn't want to hear it, turned off the TV. So I didn't know. So,
do you need to check on Boris?
Yeah, probably. I think the UPS guy's out there, but. What's up, Bubba? Yes, thank you. That was the UPS truck. Okay, no weird food or anything else on my porch either. All right. So anyway, I like I said, when I first started doing this work, though, I always wanted to get like 2 or 3 things, and then I wanted to peek or check just to make sure I was on the right track, because I was really insecure about it. I always wanted to know if I was going the right direction, or I kind of want to peek and that. But it's like the minute you see something, you can't unsee it, especially maps and stuff. You just cannot unsee it. So I I'm super, super vigilant now about not giving into that impulse, not giving into that impulse of getting 2 or 3 things and then checking to see if I'm on the right path or I'm doing the right thing or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm like, they all know what I'm talking about. You just get this impulse of, I really want to check just to see if I'm on the right track. And if I'm on the right track, I'll keep going. But but the minute you get that information and stuff, it's gonna wreak havoc. So I do try to avoid doing that, because then you can't unsee stuff. So okay, so we're gonna talk about this one later. Like I said, I might go ahead and do a demo reading on him. Maybe next week so that you guys catch it. So maybe I'll do it next week so you guys can catch it. Okay. If I do it in the Wednesday class, then anytime I do one like that, if I do a demo, then I share the recording with the other class so that everybody gets to see it. So even if you guys miss it, I will make sure that I share the recording so that the other class gets to see it too. So I'm not obviously trying to do it twice. Obviously not trying to do it twice. Okay. That was one of the interesting things about Sensing Murder. You know, that was interesting from a production standpoint, was that I never knew what was going to happen. I had no idea what was going to come up. There was no way to pre-plan for the shoot or anything else because I had no clue what was going to happen. I don't know what I was going to get. I didn't know how the case was going to unfold. I had no idea what was going to happen, and neither did they. So it was always a big surprise for everybody. It was always a big surprise for everybody. It was kind of like, okay, we got to go with the flow. And so that's sort of how it goes. All right. But you do get more confidence as you go and you practice, and you do, like I said, once you start seeing your own stuff get more and more consistent, then you start getting more and more confidence. And the other thing too, though, is that you guys are all going to go through a bad spell. You're all going to go through a spell where you get several dead or alives wrong in a row, and you're going to think, oh my God, I can't do this. What am I thinking? And it's going to throw you, and your confidence is going to, it happens to everybody. It's happened to me, and it's happened to me, and then not that far, probably a year ago, that I went through one of those spells where I was just like, oh my God, I should just hang up my hat. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I am just blowing it. And so it happens. It happens to everyone. But you have to push through it and not, give up. And it doesn't mean that you're terrible at it. It's just that we all go through that. And so you have to learn how to push through it. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this one. Okay.
I just want to say, because from the time that you posted till the time I couldn't do it. I didn't have enough time. I was really busy. So by the time I got to see it, it was like last night at 9 o'clock.
For this
So
one? for her.
Yeah, that one and the other one.
I knew the dead or alive one was going to be a problem for you guys, but I was like, yeah, we'll just do it in class in the next 10 minutes. You guys, there's no excuse for that one. But this one, because I knew that I posted it really late last night, and I'm like, yeah, if they didn't get to it, we'll take 10 minutes to look at it before I give the answer.
I missed the sketching part. I don't know how I missed that, but I did the description, but not the sketch.
The sketch. Oh,
Okay.
describe. Okay. Right. So you guys always have I always put it that way. Describe and or sketch. So I always will put it that way, describe and or sketch. So you guys have the choice of doing one, doing both, one or the other. So you guys always do have the a choice in how you want to do that. I do encourage you to start trying to sketch just to get the practice in. I told you my people are all pretty funny, but I'm getting better at it. But they all look like they've had 10 cups of coffee is what I've heard, but all their eyes are bugged out. I'm still trying to figure that out, but it is good practice to try and practice a little bit. I'm gonna get her up here. That's her. Yeah, that's her. Now I thought what you guys were gonna have trouble with was probably the kitten. I couldn't crop the kitten out without cutting out her face. So I'm like, well, the kitten's got to stay. Whenever there's something like that, I do encourage you to just put your hand over it, cover it up, or whatever you can do to do that, so you're not totally distracted by it. But that was one of those instances where there's a kitten in the picture. Okay. So this is the guy, I believe.
That guy right, the one got the little finger thing.
Say what?
Oh, okay, the guy right there. I got partial. Yeah, I started to write it down when I was sitting here.
Oh, good. Okay.
For class. Yeah. So I did. However, I had him more as a heavy set person, but I did have him dark skinned.
Okay.
And he was big, like tall, and he had a round face, small eyes. I saw him as a bald head. Yeah, he had large hands, small fingers, small feet. And that's kind of as far as I got. I thought he was 6'1". So
I'm going to try and find another picture of him.
doesn't look like he's heavy set though.
Definitely not.
No, so that part I got wrong, but he was dark skinned.
Yep. I think they said he was homeless. Let me see. Yeah.
I don't really have any like.
It's the same picture. This one.
Yeah. Kind of.
So yeah, there was a fight over a cell phone, and he believed that she had stolen his cell phone, I think is what. But I think from the story I read, he was homeless and he killed her, but there was a male with her, and he stabbed the male too. The male tried to come to her defense or something.
Interesting. Maybe that's the bigger person I.
Yeah, and I actually don't know if I ever saw a picture of the other guy, but I'm guessing this is the same guy. Yep, yep. So he looks pretty skinny to me. I can't really tell how tall he is. You can really see the dead eyes. You can see the dead eyes in that picture really well. Okay.
Did they say how tall he was?
I didn't see it in that. I wasn't seeing it in that article.
'Cause I got his eyes, his nose, and his ears. They all stood out to me. A little bit of facial hair.
Right. Um, I don't think this is the one where they were. That's when they still didn't know. So he got first-degree murder.
Did they say, was she prostituting herself for drug money?
I don't know. They didn't say anything like that. That, like I said, I don't know. I mean, this happened behind a store. And I thought they had said she was with another guy.
Yeah, right there, Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey. He was attacked and screamed he was being stabbed. Another man grabbed a board and entered the enclosure and saw a man standing over Sample stabbing her. The woman opened the gates of the enclosure and saw a man sitting. So they reviewed surveillance video from the convenience store. Showing them entering the store and leaving together. Okay. His shoes had blood on them.
Oh, she was living on the street too. Oh.
Okay. She had chosen to live on the streets. Okay. There you go. All right. That's very sad. Okay. So let's see what you guys did real quick. Okay. Allie said strangled, throat bludgeoned. Okay. Purpose of mail. Didn't know him well, if at all. Okay. Saw an alley with a man walking down it, random, but premeditated. Intent to kill. Okay. He watched her, possibly. Knew her hours near her home. Killed very afraid near a brick building outside. Good. Violent attack. When they're saying an enclosure, I don't know if they're talking about like a tent or what, maybe that's what they're talking about. Street lights in the city limits, cars parked nearby, night blacktop. Okay, possibly behind a building or an apartment. Good job. Okay. Ethnic, late 20s, black hair, very short, circle pattern. In good shape, blue and white flannel with something jeans. Where'd that guy go?
It said t-shirt.
Okay. Good job. Okay, very good.
Good.
All right, that's really good. Okay. Does it say how, it said, how old did it say he was?
He said, it says 32, but he looks like a baby.
Okay. Yeah, he really does. Okay. Good job. Okay, Carrie. Medium height, dark, thick, wavy hair. Blue jeans. Blue and green striped shirt. Okay. Mid to late 20s. There you go. Possibly early 30s. Tan skin, medium weight. Don't think they know each other. Wanted her, last minute decision to kill her. Dark piercing eyes. Good. Dark circles under them. Good. Describe her. Okay. And you even drew the striped shirt, which he's wearing a striped shirt in that picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Dark hair. Black boots. Good work. Okay. You guys are doing good. Okay, early to mid 20s, skinny, wiry body, good. About 5'11", dark hair, possibly facial hair, and a hat, cocky attitude, secretive. Good work, okay? All right. Olivia. Okay. You typed it down here, huh? I'm going to read it. All right. Approximately 6 foot. 10, I don't know what that means. Skin, Caucasian. Skull, I can't hear you, so you're going to have to unmute yourself.
That's supposed to say tan skin
Oh, tan.
Caucasian.
Okay. Tan skin. Okay, got it. Skull connection near bar. More rounded eyes, brown hair, dark eyes. She knew her killer. 20 to 30 years old. Late 20s, good. Feel like he was more clean shaven at the time of the murder. Feel like there was a relationship between her and this boy. Okay. Purple. Baby face. Oh, perp. You're.
I was doing text to talk to text. Sorry.
Like, it's okay. It's so funny. Mine does that all the time. I feel the purple. Has a bit of a baby face, and he's desperately trying to disguise himself. Grown out a beard. Okay. Maybe growing out his hair as well as trying to make himself look older. Boy is from upper middle class family. Okay. Both were doing drugs. I feel like she spent money. Where's the money? That's interesting. Where's the money? Because what he was yelling at her apparently was, you know, he thought she'd stolen his phone. He was really mad about that she took his phone. Okay. Constantly looking over his shoulder. There might be a B connection. Okay. So I sound out a little bit more. I feel like they droop on the outside corner of the bed. You're on
Corner
it.
of his eyes.
You're autocorrect, just killing me. It's so funny. He also may have some tattoos on his hands or his fingers, like dots on his fingers. Okay. Very good. You gave him a little bit of a beard. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I wish there was more pictures of him, but he does have a little bit of a beard in this picture. So
Yeah, I felt like he had more round in the center, but like droopy on the ends, and that's kind of what he looks
he
like.
does. Yeah, he definitely does have sort of droopy.
And his ears stuck out to me, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good job. Okay. Yeah, that's a good description. Droopy, kind of droopy eyes. Good. Okay. Good work. All right. Okay, Darla. Wild male Caucasian with darker skin. Slim, round face. Rugged jawline, big nose. Bushy eyebrows. Average height. Okay. Maybe Italian. AOL. Good. Massacre. Thought he was my friend. Brown wavy hair. A lot of you guys getting wavy hair. So I'm guessing when his hair's grown out, it's probably like that. Police. Can't be trusted. Possible lead over from stalker. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Athletic build. 160 pounds. Something about cards. Playing cards. Okay. Hand showing a card. Erratic behavior. Possible mental illness. Okay. Make love, not money.
Like something out of the 70s. Yeah. Make love,
Okay.
not money. It's weird.
Family man. Okay. Didn't know he's married.
And I switched to mediumship there.
Okay. Difficult relationship in his life, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde. Unpredictable military background. Lonely, but really wasn't.
Lovely, but really wasn't.
Oh, lovely, but really wasn't. Okay. Knew him, but didn't really know him. Two sides. Okay. Non-compliant rebel.
And then there's more on the right there. I ran a
Violent.
mistake.
Okay. Not the only one. Seemed trustworthy. Good job in security. Okay.
Mama told me that could have been about the streets.
Yeah. Reference to. Okay. It's not a bad sketch, actually.
It doesn't feel good. After seeing the picture, it does not feel good.
I mean, you made his face a little rounder. You made his face a little rounder than it is. But
Yeah.
Okay. I think, yeah, you just made him overall a little rounder in his features. But still not bad, not bad. Okay. All right. Sam. Young lady's killer was an adult male older than she. That's true. Deep infatuation with her. Good deal higher than hers. I don't know. They're both on the street. But she was in a position to do great damage to his reputation. Okay. Enjoyed a brief flirtation. Chester has several important secrets. Perp was an imposing man, trolling situations. Accumulated suspicions about her. Felt she was toying with him. He felt she was making a fool of him. Sounds like my stalker. Most of all, he feared that she had shared some of his secrets. Okay. So a little bit of storytelling there. Okay. And I would like you to try to focus on the actual physical if you can. Try to start working on that. Okay. All right. Tara.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
Okay. Green eyes, beanie hat, scraggly hair. All right. Light skin. Okay. Smell cigarettes. All right. I wonder, I'm not trying to make something fit because I don't know, but I'm wondering if you picked up on one of the other characters that was involved in this whole thing. Because like I said, there were a couple of other men apparently that were trying to defend her or got involved in this thing. So it's possible you could have described one of them. But I don't know. But because you made him scraggly and stuff, that makes me kind of suspicious.
In that kind of vein of the
homeless
type of
camp people.
Right.
Yeah.
The people that were there. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
So I don't know. You'd have to find out what Jeffrey looks like. But like I said, I'm not trying to make it fit because that doesn't help anybody. But I was a little suspicious as soon as you started making him scraggly. I'm like, it could be one of those other homeless guys.
And I did write one of those things where I was like, I kind of want to throw it away because I'm like, I think he looks like a guy from a show I just watched. So
that can happen too. I have a girlfriend that does this all the time. She'll have a dream and she'll think it's like super important or something, and she'll have a dream and she'll want to analyze the dream, and then she'll like watch a movie later and then she'll realize that it was the same thing that was in her dream, and she'll be like, okay, I was just pre-watching a movie, I guess.
Yeah, nothing I got here is even close to whatever that the guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a male.
That's all I got.
You get points. You get points for that. Okay. Did you describe the same guy she did? No. Yeah.
So,
Okay. That's okay. That's why we do this. Because like I said, I find describing people really hard. That's why we practice. In our safe space where we can get stuff wrong and it doesn't hurt anybody. Okay.
Speaking of which, I don't know who I saw.
You don't dark hair, scraggly, heavy dark eyebrows, green. Oh, you got green eyes too.
He was very Caucasian, the one that I saw.
Okay. Male version of her. Okay. Okay. Black hair, not brown. Shiny black, short cut, but longer on top. Thick, unkempt. Okay. Going in the right direction. Younger than 30. Hate, arguing. Rumpus. Okay. He didn't know her. All right. Knife stab, bleed out, bedroom, wearing pajamas. Okay.
That's probably wrong.
She kind of, well, she might not have been wearing pajamas, but she was in her makeshift bedroom, I think. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So maybe it was symbolic.
Yeah. That's the kind of eyes I draw. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's how I draw my eyes. Too much caffeine. Okay.
Yeah. I'll try getting a bit more next time.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay. All right. You were kind of going in the right direction though. So not bad. All right. All right. You guys, I love that you guys can laugh at yourselves. Truly, it's the only way to survive this. Okay. Andrea, middle-sized man with blondish to gray hair. Okay.
Oh boy.
Interesting face, slim, if not haggard looking face, long. Okay. Clothing seems to hang loosely on the body. Seems to wear a head cap, but not baseball. Different style. Someone else saw a beanie. I'm not sure if murder weapon or other meaning. I now see some of the regular matching clothes and shoes. Maybe. Okay.
Can you hear me at all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I suddenly saw, a baseball player in
Oh.
matching shoes, and I thought like, wow, I'm really off here.
Right.
But I wasn't sure if it's something he might enjoy, as in like a sport. I didn't understand why I was seeing suddenly like the uniform of a baseball player, including the shoes.
Yeah, that I don't know. That is interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Was it striped?
Well, he had a knife, not even a baseball club
No,
or anything.
the baseball uniform. What did it have stripes on it?
Oh, okay. Well, that's far-fetched, but thanks.
Maybe. Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it's hard to say where that
Yeah, but I mean, blondish to gray hair is
Yeah.
kind of, even the face was more round than thin, and he was too young to have significant lines.
Right.
And he didn't look like his clothes were hanging, even so you could only see his upper body part.
So I'm wondering
So
too if
I
you
think
did
I'm kind of really off.
You're off, but I'm wondering if you did the same thing, if you possibly tuned into somebody else at the scene. I want to reinforce this while we're on this. Remember how I was talking about that? I've talked about that before, where I talk about how sometimes you can pick up on people in the periphery. So it's really important to set your intentions to only see the killer, only see the killer. So make sure that you set your intentions. I'm only going to see the actual killer. Make sure to reconfirm that, set that intention before you start, because sometimes you may pick up on other people that are involved in it, but not it. Because I can't really say if that's what you did or didn't do, because I don't know what these other people look like. But I know that there were 2 other men. So hard to say. But that's a good reminder for all of you. Set your intention to only see the actual killer. Okay. Francie, older than her, 50s or 60s. You made him older too. Okay, got tan skin. Partly sun, partly ethnicity. Good. Sensing a Caucasian Latin heritage. Okay. Taller than her by quite a bit. Long and lanky. Good. Arms look a bit leathered by the sun. I noticed a blackish green tattoo. So you're right about that. Most homeless people have that leathery appearance from being out in the sun. Other tattoos. Shape of a cross or a knife. Thick mustache. Unshaved, gray mixed in. Cut off t-shirt exposing his shoulders. Lean. Hells Angels type affiliation in motorcycles. Seeing long highways. Very cold inside and doesn't have any empathy. Okay, done this before. Protected or shielded from authorities. Nickname like Hank versus Henry, Guy, or George. Tony or Anthony. Okay. What was his name? He's got an unusual name, and I forgot what it was.
Kudos, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
But there was a Jeffrey.
There was a Jeffrey. That's true. I felt this took place indoors in a motel or hotel. Okay. Grossed out by him on all levels. Made her feel uncomfortable. Okay. Saw her in a bar or public setting before the assault. That's true. Takes what he wants, no remorse. Assaulted her head, throat area. Sexual assault. That part's not right. Maybe in jail now. Okay. San Clemente. Okay. All right. So you were getting some stuff mixed in with some other stuff. So you were definitely getting some good stuff in there. Okay. And then Bridget. 5'6" to 6 foot. You guys are all making him tall. Most of you are making him tan, dark skin. Good. Dark hair, shoulder greasy. Ties bandana, backward on head. Dark eyes, thin eyelashes, pointed nose, thin lips, pointed chin, bad teeth. Okay, don't know, but probably. Cheap tattoo on left arm. A lot of you are getting tattoos on this guy. Okay. Black t-shirt, baggy jeans, chains hanging from belt, black boots, rough scarred hands. Okay, good. All right. It's hard to say what he looks like when he's not all cleaned up.
I think mine is hiding again.
Is what?
This is Sophie. My description is going to be, I think,
Oh,
with
yours
my
is
name.
hiding again. Okay. It's going to be over here.
It doesn't have to be long because it's really off. I think I mixed it with, I'm going to have to be really specific. I think I mixed with like all three mixed together.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Sexual, okay. Father figure. Okay. Show me the perp at the time he attacked her. Had a hard time to see if it was his description now or then. Note to self, remember to say when. Okay.
And then for me, I got whole older, thin hair. So I don't know if it's the other guy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like for sure Caucasian.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Water bridge.
the drawing is not bad. But I would have said white skin, so that would have been completely off, I guess.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's true. The sketch isn't bad. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Next time, do better.
Yeah. It's hard. Like I said, it is hard. This is why we practice it, because I find that part challenging myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we are almost out of time here. So what I'm going to do is pull this up. I'll let you look at it while I go grab a drink of water really quick. And then just form your opinion. If you didn't already do it, just look at it real quick. Okay. Whoops. I wonder if some of you guys were seeing him.
Can you talk about the eyes and what to look for in the eyes? You had mentioned it at one other class.
Yeah, I mean, this one's it's a little tricky because his eyes are squinty. He's squinty, and there's times where I get people where their eyes are squinty all the time and I can't get a better picture of them. Some people see moisture. Some people see moisture in their eyes. I've never figured that technique out yet myself. Some of you will see their eyes as wet if they're alive. They'll see moisture in their eyes. Mm-hmm. Some of you won't. For me, when I'm trying to make a really quick decision, just in the moment, I always look for movement in the photo. If I see them being 3D like, and do they look like they're moving or do they recede? that kind of thing. Because you can't see his eyes real well, it's easier to sort of look for movement or something like that.
Okay.
Did you say receding? Is that what you said?
Yeah, sometimes they recede, like it's almost like they're so when they're not alive, sometimes to me it's almost like their energy is just back. I don't know how else to say it.
Okay, thanks.
I feel like sometimes I come up with an idea and then I can't get away from it. You know, like it just is stuck there. I can't get away from the idea of what I'm thinking.
Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's your just being stubborn. And then sometimes it's your logic being stubborn. So we're not going to know until we know the answer in a minute, which way that goes. But yeah, I'll just give you guys one more minute and then we'll. All right, I'm going to take a poll on how many think he's alive.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Only 3. R1 said so 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 others. 5. Okay. And then how many think he's not alive? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right. He is not alive. He is not alive. So this is actually his obituary picture.
Oh.
I know nothing about him. I was just searching for other stuff, and this picture came up as an obituary picture. So his name is Sean Coop from Salem. Sean Coop from Salem. He looks like a fun guy.
Yeah, he does. He's got high blood pressure.
Or he did, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
I kept sensing he was in some sort of a car accident, but then I thought, let me not be deceived by the hat.
That's what I thought, an accident too.
Yeah, I felt it was an accident, like a trucker or
Yeah,
some sort of vehicle.
that's what I thought too. And then I thought coma for a while and then passed.
Mhm.
Salem. Well, what happened? Sean Coop.
Did anybody get that he was a heavy drinker?
Kind of.
I think he was, yeah.
I had liver problems and ascites.
I got liver too, liver and heart.
Well, now I'm having trouble finding his obituary.
Huh.
Is this SHAWN?
I don't know. I
Okay.
know it was Salem because the newspaper was Salem.
You have to put that MA in from Massachusetts, or is it?
Oregon.
It's in Oregon. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no, that was a question.
Hang on. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to find him. Where'd it go? Where did he? I hope I still have his picture up here.
I thought it was funny.
You thought it was what?
I thought it was funny that you said you saw them recede a little bit, because I find that for me, the living people go flat or recede, and deceased pop out to me like 3D.
Yes.
So back in the day when we first started, I always thought those were my living people, and I'm starting to figure out those are my deceased people.
Yeah, that's what you have to figure out for yourself, because everybody happens one way or the other, right? So if you're doing mediumship, a lot of times they seem more lively and stuff when they're actually dead.
Yeah, they're so much easier to read. I mean, I guess obviously because they're, I don't know, I can pick up their energy pretty quick, so I can read them.
Let me grab him real quick. Wow. Okay. Oh, there it is. Phew. Thought I made him up. Sean, you're right. It was Sean. The spelling's wrong. Sean Patrick Coop. Okay. There we go. What? I don't know why I'm not being able to open this. Sean Patrick Coop. Okay. 68 of Peabody.
Oh, Peabody. They pronounce it Peabody.
Yeah. Okay. For some reason, because the spelling's wrong. It's not Coop, it's Cop, C-O-P-P. So I have it totally wrong. It's Sean, S-H-A-W-N, Patrick, Cop, C-O-P-P. All right, I'm going to share this real quick. Where are we? And then lost you guys. Okay, share the screen. Quickly, I'm running out of time. I've got another class. Okay.
Oh, there he is.
There we go.
All of a sudden.
Died expectedly on Monday, December 2015.
Heart attack.
Is that what it said?
Unexpected
I'm
is an
just-
interesting way to put it.
Right. That's why I felt it was sudden. I thought it like an impact from an accident. But
Yeah. He loved the ocean, shared many happy memories with his daughter, scuba diving off of his boat. He was also a motorcycle enthusiast.
Boat.
He enjoyed building and riding Harley Davidsons.
I got his boat.
Okay.
Got motorcycles.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So I had him alive
Yeah.
as a mediumship more because I got everything else right, except the fact that he's not alive.
Right. That
You know, for me,
happens.
yeah.
That, and you know, that happens. And so a lot of times people will pick up all kinds of stuff about the person. It's just that they're wrong about the dead or alive part. Yeah. So that does
This was the
happen.
first, I'm sorry. This was the first time for me that when I first saw it, you know, my first inclination is I get it. Okay. So I got dead, I got deceased. And then I wanted to go further to say, well, maybe, you know, so I kept fighting, I kept fighting that inclination till I laughed. I was like, is that my logic yelling at me? But I actually think it was my subconscious mind that kept said, stop, like in big capital letters, gone, bye-bye, he's dead. And I was like, oh my God, I said, I'm going with the first answer, right answer. So when you took the poll and I started laughing, I was like, wow, that's the first type of inner dialogue that I got was like, you know, stop it. He's, you know, he's gone. And I just laughed to myself from that information, that dialogue was weird, but
Right.
cool.
That's cool. Deborah, what was your answer again?
I felt he had passed, and
Okay.
but I
'Cause
felt like
you were the one saying you got it stuck in your head and you couldn't let go.
yeah, and I did feel like he was in an accident and then went to a coma or something for a while and then passed away.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just it popped in, it wouldn't go away.
Okay. All right, guys. I've got to run, but I'm glad we got to figure out Sean. So
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pam. I'll see
Forward to seeing you guys.
some of you next week.
Yeah.
See you next week. Yeah.
Either what, a warrior or a thug.
Good. Yep.